Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Say More podcast. My name is Sarah Ozycz. I am your host and really happy to be here today with a lovely guest, Laurie Powers LeBlanc. Welcome, Laurie.
Thank you for having me.
Glad you're here. So before we jump into some of the questions, I will let the listeners know that we met rather recently at a social event, and
Yes.
it was a great introduction. I had actually known about you previous to that particular social interaction. We had one of your books, and it was great putting a face to the name. And we kind of mutually talked about a variety of topics, and you wanting to join the podcast. So, really happy to have you here today.
Great. This is a great opportunity for me. I've never done a podcast, so I'm just going to wing it.
Welcome. I'm so glad that you're here on my podcast. This is wonderful. So, if you could just start off and tell the listeners a little bit about yourself so they can get to know you, that would be great.
Sure. So I am a semi-retired 69-year-old mother, grandmother, born and raised in Newburyport. My family has history here. My father was a politician here. All my kids went to public schools here. My grandkids go to public schools here. And when I retired, I had a lot of time on my hands. I'm sort of a type A personality. I'm always busy, juggling a lot of things. And I found that I had a lot of time on my hands, which I didn't really care for. So I thought I need to do something else. So I started volunteering at a number of different places, the Newburyport Horticultural Society. I'm a member of the Elks, who do wonderful work here in Newburyport. And then I've written a couple of children's books.
Excellent. Yeah. And that's actually how we were kind of connected. And it was such a wonderful opportunity for me to meet you and learn about your story. And I think is going to be very valuable for our listeners today.
Good.
So, one of the questions that I like to ask all of my guests, because representation matters, is what mental health means to them. My podcast is focused on destigmatizing behavioral health and mental health. So, I'd love
Yeah.
to hear a little bit more about your perspective on that.
So at my age, we grew up in a world that we didn't really speak about mental health. We probably didn't know even the definition. I don't think my parents knew what it was. Looking back, I can clearly identify that my brother had ADHD and a number of other issues. He had an addictive personality. I know I was pretty obsessive about getting things done my way, the only way. I particularly had an episode where, after COVID, that I experienced depression and anxiety, and I didn't know anything about it. It was new to me, and when I was in treatment, it was suggested that I take medication, and I was horrified. You go to the pharmacy the first time you pick up the prescription, and it has all these warnings and suicidal warnings and so forth, and I was afraid to take it, and then I did take it, and it was a lifesaver for me. And a number of people that I know, when I started talking about it, mostly my girlfriends that are my age, said, "Oh, I've been taking this for years, and I've been taking that for years." No idea. I had no idea. Yeah.
Wow, so
Yeah.
that was really surprising for you to hear that, but also it sounds like quite validating for you as well.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that. And I think it's so important for others to be aware of how mental health can manifest across all ages, across the lifespan, and particular circumstances. I think COVID absolutely, that could be
Yeah.
a whole nother episode, but really had such an impact on all of us. So thank you for sharing that.
Sure.
And when we think about mental health, well-being, physical and mental well-being, I think that there's a lot that can tie into, particularly for children, and healthy habits, and reading is a part of that. And so I'm excited to talk with you about that today. And so to that, for those that may not be familiar with your work, can you share a little bit about your pathway to becoming a children's author?
Well, my son had a baby who is 2.5 now, and actually are coming down this weekend, so I can't wait for that. And he has another baby who's 8 months old. And when he started putting his son to bed, his name is Eddie, he would start reading or saying, "Oh, Eddie, you look a little tired. You look TyTy," which is how the character of my books materialized. And he said he would, tell him, make up stories and say, "Oh, TyTy is going to save the world tonight because there is a fire in the park, but we're going to run down there and we're going to put water on it and we're going to put it down and everybody's going to be safe." And I just said, you know what, that's a great concept for a way to ease children into bedtime with something exciting yet soothing to put them into their sleep. And so I said, "Why don't you pursue that?" And he did, but he said, "Ma, I can't do it. I have a newborn, I have a job, I have this." And so I said, "You know what, I have some time. I think I will pursue it." So I did. I modified it a bit, and TyTy was created. So yeah,
Amazing.
yeah,
Amazing. Isn't it wonderful how something just like a simple idea can really transform into like a passion project into and now like a full children's author?
yeah, yeah,
Amazing.
yes.
And I would love to hear kind of how that experience has positively impacted your life or your mental well-being as well. It sounds like such a wonderful initiative.
Well, it did. It gave me purpose, and I was lacking that when I semi-retired because I just felt like nobody needed me anymore. My kids are grown, and I said, "Well, what can I do?" And so I wrote this book, this story, um, thinking that it was only going to be for Eddie. And I tried to like make drawings, which I'm a stick figure person drawing. But I had ideas in my head that I wanted to put down, and I worked on it every day. And I told Kyle about it, my son, and he said, "That's great, Ma. Keep doing it." And I did, and it kind of snowballed into a bigger thing. So yeah, that's how, and it was great for me.
Yeah, it sounds like it really was very impactful. You know, you talked a little bit earlier about kind of experiencing some mental health symptoms, you know,
Mm-hmm.
post-COVID.
Yep.
And I think it sounds like maybe post retirement as well. And
Yeah.
so it sounds
Absolutely.
like, yeah, it
Yeah.
sounds like this project and this, I should say, um, career pivot uh,
Yep.
to a children's author really it sounds like as you said kind of gave you this sense of purpose again and also mitigated it sounds like a bit of your mental health symptoms
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah. Yes, that's absolutely correct. And I think a lot of people my age who have worked one, two jobs all their lives and have been busy but juggled, kids' sports and plays and caring for um, older parents or what have you. We juggled it all. And then when it stops, it stops. And you're like, okay, what am I going to do today? I get up, I go for a walk, I go to the gym, I do laundry, I change the bed. It's only 10 o'clock. Now what am I going to do? So this became something for me to research, and it saved my life actually. This project, yeah,
That's I just think that's so wonderful to hear and I appreciate you so much sharing that. I think that so many of our listeners will absolutely relate to that and probably you know have you back for part two about kind of transition right from career to retirement and what that has been
yeah,
like.
yeah,
And so you know one of the ways in which children develop really healthy habits is through routine. And I think a lot of parents like to um, maintain a strong bedtime routine, which includes reading.
yeah, yes.
And I would love to hear from you in what ways you think your stories help support healthy habits and positive well being for children.
Well, so my book is about a very cute character. He's sort of a cartoon little guy, and the first story I wanted to write about, because I looked out in my backyard and I said, what do I love? What is my passion? I love birds. I love gardening. I love spending time with family. And I just said, you know what? There is so much simple information that I can create and share, and I wrote it in a sing-songy type way, like the night before Christmas and all through the house. So it went to that degree, and it's just pictures that you can see, bright colors, primary colors mostly. I created a character called the Secret Sidekick, and on each page he or she is hidden, so it becomes an interactive part of turning the pages. And where is the sidekick? Where is he hiding? And so I think that most of the kids love the most. When I've read to a number of preschoolers, and I've sent books to my son's friends, and they say they can't wait to find the sidekick on each page. So it's just simple stuff, and they love it.
I have to echo that a bit because when we first received your book, that was the excitement for my daughter was, of course the story, but trying to find the
Yep.
sidekick in each of the pages, and it was really engaging. She was curious. She was excited to find that. We kind of almost made it like a game, so
Yeah.
that was really fun for us.
Good. I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah, yeah, it definitely keeps kids engaged for sure. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm curious to, when we were first kind of chatting about you joining the podcast, you sent me quite a few topics about things that you might want to discuss and
Mhm.
topics you were interested in. Um, for you, what ways do you think that either families, and that could be, parents, caregivers, grandparents, support children when they're having kind of a difficult moment or transition?
Well, I think that our my experience, and probably a lot of people in my genre, um, we had the routines too. Mostly mothers did the putting to bed of the children and so forth. But for me, it was all about reading. There was always a bedtime story. There was always, and as my brothers and I got older, it was somebody was reading that, and you look forward to, okay, who's going to read tonight? What are we going to read tonight? We had tons of Dr. Seuss books. And those were bright colored. They were sing-songy. They were rhymey. They were silly. But it was a calming end of the night ritual that we embraced. And one of my brothers became an avid reader. I became an avid reader. My other brother, who did not become an avid reader, was the one who had a little bit of ADD. And so, maybe that could have changed a little bit if my parents knew about that and knew what they were looking at and thought he was just, the wild child. Um, and I think that has probably been misidentified as well throughout the last 20 years, but perhaps it's now coming to the forefront. And, you know, a calming way, I think, is reading stories, engaging, letting them turn the page, letting them pick out, what do you think is funny on this page? Who's your favorite character? That's how I would answer that question.
And I appreciate that answer. For us, I can just share for us in our house, reading is not just like reading on the page. Of course, we read the page, but then I ask a bunch of questions. We engage quite a bit. And so, reading, yes, it takes longer, but I think it's a really enjoyable experience for everyone.
Yeah.
And now I'm forgetting, I'm forgetting where I saw this, but there was some article, I think it was an article, a research article, that talked about uh, children, teens as well, who have better outcomes because they have a predictable routine or schedule with their family, could be once a week even. But
Mhm.
these kids and these teens had better mental health outcomes when there was predictability of a routine at home.
And I would agree to that with a little caveat that says when that routine is disrupted by any number of reasons, the ability to pivot and refocus on, okay, my baseball game got rained out. I'm not going to play tonight. instead of having a hissy fit, maybe I can go to the batting cages inside and focus on me for a minute instead of my team. Or when some other event happens, the ability to be able to pivot out of that routine for a short while and then get back into it, I think is huge, because disruption can be very, very disrupting for some children. I know that. So yeah, pivoting is huge.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I think that's one of the skills that parents, and again, caregivers, grandparents, not just parents, but those who care for children, I will say that more broadly, um, the skill of being flexible
Yeah,
and being able, as you said, to kind of pivot where their need is and being able to meet that child with support,
yeah,
compassion, empathy, uh, and really kind of wrap around that child if they're having a difficult time as well
yeah,
is
yeah.
very key. Yeah, excellent. Now, I actually wanted to pull up because we had originally, we were talking, I think we were talking at one of our social events, and I had mentioned that there's a literacy crisis in our country. And I just quickly pulled up a couple of sources. So there, in the last year, we've had several um, key articles and publications talk about kind of this declining uh, literacy rate in the United States. So, like the Atlantic, Harvard Gazette, others. Um, Obviously, this is a huge concern, I think, on many levels. And I'm wondering, as you kind of see that or hear about that now, how would you describe kind of the impact, both for kids and maybe for families, around declining literacy rates?
Well, to me, it's absolutely horrifying, because I cannot imagine a world without reading. I, I, I will say that I have pivoted, if you will, from reading books to reading everything on my Kindle, only because I can make the font bigger so I can see it. A lot of people don't. A lot of my friends don't want to give up on the books. I personally like to do that, and I read hundreds of books a year. Um, and I think I told you at the social event that I would be in my bedroom at night, lights out, Laurie, and then I would pull out my Nancy Drew or my Happy Hollisters and read with a flashlight, just because it was something for me that was able to take my mind off. All right, I have a test tomorrow, but for right now, I don't want to think about that. I want to put, and I didn't realize I was doing it at the time, but I think I was. Let's put that thought out, and we can put in some nonsense about the Happy Hollisters or something. So I think that if children aren't able to do that, that's a huge concern. So, yeah, so read simple books, read pleasant books, particularly in this current environment politically, and just there is so much anger and animosity. Just we need to talk about simple things, taking care of nature, taking care of your bodies, taking care of your neighbors, and just by reading. It's pretty simple. It's to me, it's a simple concept.
I love that. Yes, we are fully aligned on that. I will say, so one of the things that came to mind as you were kind of talking about that, um, reading, and I will just reflect, for us in our household has been such a confidence booster for my child. We had started reading to her since, I mean, she was in my belly, quite honestly.
Yeah,
um,
oh, yeah,
and we have made it a priority in our house. We have a home library with, I think, hundreds of books at this point. And since she started to learn to read, which was about a year ago, so she was about 4.5, when she started reading books, you know, Bob books, starter books on her
hmm
own. Um, she has gained such confidence in
well, yeah,
herself. Yeah.
yeah.
And it's something that she looks forward to. So we could be having any kind of day, right? A great
Mm.
day, a chaotic day, a tough day, fill in the blank. Um, and we go upstairs, we do the bedtime routine, and she's not tired. So what she does, she'll stay up and she'll read for maybe an hour, and yeah,
Yeah.
it's her own time.
Yeah.
It's quiet time for her. Um, I think it really sparks like imaginative functionality, right? Like it's creative. So clearly I love reading and I see so many positive impacts by that, but just
Yeah.
wanted to share that as well. Yeah.
Yeah. I love hearing those stories. And I will tell you that some of the people that I've given out books to or have purchased them have sent me videos or still shots of reading to their children. And this one of my son's very good friends in high school, they played sports together and now they have children. And he sent me a text and he said, my son was a little bit ornery tonight. I couldn't calm him down. He said, I pulled out TyTy and he just sat there and looked at the pages and calmed right down. And I think he's 8 months old.
Wow.
So, yeah,
Wow. That's
yeah,
amazing.
yeah,
That's amazing. Yeah, I do really feel that reading and just in general, like having that as an activity can really impact a child's like overall social and emotional development as well. That's wonderful. Okay. Is there anything else that you wanted to share today? I have a few more questions, but anything else that you wanted to share that I didn't ask already?
Well, I think I probably said that reading can be an outlet, whether it's a bedtime story or somebody a child needs a timeout. Okay, have a timeout. No TV, no toys. Here's a book. Here's a book you can read yourself, or here's a book that I've read to you many times and it's your favorite. Look at the pictures or read it and self soothe. I think being able to self soothe is a huge positive in a child's life. And I've witnessed it with my grandchildren, and it's just clutch. And flipping that over to adults, for me, when I was going through my depression and anxiety, the only time that I could put some of those thoughts out of my head was to read. And if I didn't have my Kindle, I actually I forgot it once at a therapy appointment, and I was able to pull up my book that I was reading on my phone because I went into a panic because I didn't have it. So
Oh, wow.
it becomes for me. It became a very big tool in my mental health, and I read a variety of stories. There were some that I could not read that were too disturbing, and so I went to the on the Cape, the Ellen Hildebrand stories, the you know Christmas time in down on the Cape, and some of those things. But I will honestly say that would not have. Well, I did so much better with my ability to read and put those thoughts out of my head.
Yeah, I really appreciate that, and thank you for sharing um, that vulnerability as well. And so that's something that you talk about it as a kind of it is a coping skill, right? For adults
Absolutely.
and for children as well. And the thing with children is they don't quite know yet how to use a coping skill. They just know what feels makes them feel better, right? And so it's
Yes.
really kind of on the person who is watching or supporting this child to really mirror how to self regulate, how to emotionally regulate, and try something that um, could be like a reward for them, like
Yeah.
reading, almost like an escape to focus on something else. So,
That's a very good word. So yes, that's what I did, and I think that kids' brains they're like sponges when they're 2 to 8 or whatever it is. So they
mm,
have so many things that they're processing, and so many of them go to a daycare or go to school or go whatever, and they're exposed to so many things. So at the end of the night or at nap time, to just sort of focus on something calming and positive and fun and funny, I think is huge for them.
I love that. I love that. So I wanted to ask, because I'm sure our listeners will be curious, where they can follow along your journey. Are you on social media at all?
I am on social media. Um, I'm not good at it. I have somebody who's helping me. My nephew is helping me.
Oh,
Um, so he does a lot of posts. Um, so I have my own personal Facebook page, which is Laurie and Gary, my husband. We share it. LeBlanc. I have a TyTy Tells a Tale Facebook page. There's also TyTy Tells a Tale Instagram account, and then I have my own um, Mimi. I don't even know what it is. Mimi LPL or something Instagram. Like I said, I'm not good at it, but um, it's been very challenging for me. But also, I've learned so much. I've learned so much about how to navigate this world with, you know, social media, which
yeah.
is good and bad.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, so yeah, there's several ways to find it, and then the books are available on Amazon, on Walmart, on Barnes and Noble, um, mostly online platforms right now.
Yes, that was my other question for you is, if people are interested in checking out the TyTy Tells a Tale
Yeah,
series now, because you have multiple books in the series.
I
Where can
do.
they find that? Yeah, yeah, that's great.
So yes, that's the best spot. And if uh, so, what I've learned is there has to be positive feedback and likes and reviews and so forth, which that's the hardest part for me, to ask people to say, oh, go to my page and like it and send a good review. But I think that's the way it is. So yes, if somebody buys it and likes it and puts a review, even if it's 5 star and says, love this book, my kids love this book or something, that is hugely helpful.
Thank you for pointing that out. I will say too, as someone who is kind of newer to the social media side, I'm kind of learning that self promotion, which I admittedly do not enjoy,
Nope.
but self promotion is really equivalent to visibility.
Yes.
It's not about like us feeling uncomfortable. It's how do people know that we're out there?
Yes.
Um, yeah,
Yes.
that's the hard part for me. Yeah.
It's the worst. It's the yeah. I don't like it. It's wicked hard. But I did a Facebook page post today on my own, and I just sort of said that. Thanks to everybody if you bought it, if you like it, and I put a link, and so yeah.
Perfect.
But yeah,
That's great. Yeah. And again, it's about how do we get, whether it's like our book, this podcast, whatever it may be, how do we get that out there in the world so that people know about it and can
yeah,
engage with it, can connect with it? But that does require, being visible, which is a new skill for me.
exactly. I'm with you on that, sister.
Yeah, we agree on that. um, all right. And then my last question for you is, what do you hope listeners walk away with from today's conversation?
Well, I think it sort of reflects back to simple things, old school things. Like I said, I'm 69 years old. Didn't have any of the social media stuff. Didn't have a lot of the turmoil that I think the children are exposed to every day on with the news, and maybe older siblings on their phones all the time, and parents worried about what's going to happen. Can I afford gas? Can I afford this? So for me, it's like, try to just simplify your life. Try to go back to the basics. Go to the beach, enjoy the day. Don't have your phone out. I was at the beach the other day, and there was nobody was walking without their phone. I said, what is wrong with people? I don't understand that. Um, and just live in the moment, live in the present, enjoy it. Take a picture in your mind. You don't have to take a picture on your phone, because somebody could have 10,000 photos on their phone. What are you going to do with all those? So just put it in your mind and think about it, because I think about all the memories that I have when I was young with no cell phones and so forth, and those are the best memories for me.
Yeah, and this is something that I regularly try to practice in my own life is living in the moment.
Yes.
And actually, it's like habits of not having my phone on
Yeah.
me intentionally,
Yeah.
because you're right. I don't want my daughter to grow up like seeing me on my phone all the time.
Yeah.
You know, when
It's
we, yeah,
it's a little disturbing to me, but I chalk it up to saying, well, it's my age because that's how these that's how my an 18 almost 18-year-old, almost 14-year-old, this granddaughter and grandson, they grew up with this. They grew up with the computers. They grew up with the phones. It's a good method to keep them safe, but it's also when they start doing the scrolling, it's bad.
yeah.
So
It's as you said. You talked about the word disruptive, and that comes to mind as well. Where it's like that's really disruptive to just being in the moment and making these memories, being present. Even something like reading, a story to your child. Don't have your
yeah,
phone on you then. Like put it
right.
in a different room,
That's
right?
tough. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, I really appreciate you coming on the podcast today. It was so great to
Well,
have you.
uh, happy to do it, and these are other things. I was a little nervous because
Oh,
I am what I am, and I say what I say, and I jotted down some notes, but it just comes from the heart, I guess. So
as it
yes, so
should. I mean, as it
I,
should.
I appreciate you having me, and maybe we can revisit it again.
Absolutely. I would love that our paths cross and continue to cross
Yes.
again, and really loved having you on here. Well, thank you everyone for listening to today's episode. We'll see you in the next one. And as always, be well. Take care.